All right. Hello, badasses. Happy Wednesday evening. I'm going to talk to you guys today, and this isn't going to make sense to you at first, but it will all come together, about the language of leadership and influencing people. And I'm going to share with you how to communicate with others to get results. And this doesn't necessarily even mean your coaches or your challengers or your customers. This really applies to anything. But I want to really tweak this conversation in this webinar on the Beachbody business and how all of you can become better leaders, because I feel like for about a year and a half into my business, I really struggled. And I'll get into that a little bit. So I want to see hearts if you all feel like, as leaders, as new leaders or experienced leaders, if you struggle to influence people, if that's something you really want to improve on and haven't really quite figured out the secret sauce where you can consistently influence people, if that's something you want to learn how to do, I want to see some hearts, because I know for me, that was something I wanted to learn how to do back when I was a new coach. And I also want to see hearts if you all are one of those people that compare your mediocrity and where you don't feel like you're doing or being enough with others' amazing successes. And you look over and you're like, I can't be like that. I don't do like they do. I don't look like they do. I don't talk like they do. I want to see hearts if that's one of the things that you guys struggle with, because you're going to absolutely love this takeaway. So I don't know how long I'm going to go for. I tend to always go over what I want, but I will record it. I will upload it if you guys have to go. I know it's dinner time on the East Coast, so I totally get that. But I want to tell you guys, struggling to influence people, this business is different, right? Our kids have to do what we say because they have to, and then all these other aspects. But this business, it's totally by choice. And you've got to influence people while in their busy lives of doing other things and hope it sticks. And you see other people having success around you and doing better, and you're like, why am I not doing what they're doing? And a lot of times as a new leader, we question if it's us. And I'm going to tell you that was me. And I'm going to tell you a story. If I give myself hearts on my own, I'm going to tell you I would give hearts, because that was me too. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. And this is a story so Lindsay is my sponsor. And when I started this business, Lindsay did team calls every single Monday night. And her team calls were the most amazing thing I had ever been a part of with a business. I looked forward to her Monday calls, like literally waking up on Monday and thinking, oh my gosh, there's a call tonight. I'm going to log in at 9 o'clock and tune in and hear her speak. It was so inspiring to me. And she would sometimes have other speakers, and I would hear other speakers. And I used to think I would get off a call with her and give hearts if you felt this way too, or still do. And I literally could feel like I could run out of my house after the call. I could lift up a car and frickin' throw it over the house. I felt so strong and so empowered and so motivated to accomplish freaking anything after hearing her speak, to where it was like, I felt such a high. And about a year into my business, she said, or about 6 months into my business, she said, Shay, you really need to also do your own team calls. And that terrified me. I'm like, oh God, I can't do what she does. So I ripped the Band-Aid off, did a call, and I'm gonna tell you guys, it wasn't pretty. It was awful. It was really bad. It wasn't bad in content. I had some good things that I shared and taught my team, but I literally had the energy of Charlie Brown's teacher. And it was just like, and I'm like, this is awful. I am never going to make it in this business, because my team call is horrible. Like, it had no energy. It had nothing that I was blessed enough to get from my sponsor. I can't give that to my team. I'm never going to make it. And I don't know how to talk like that. Like, it's just different. And for a year, I did not do another team call. A year, I did not do another team call because I felt insecure in my own leadership. And I compared myself to her delivery, and it freaking killed me. It paralyzed me. So I did not do another team call for my team for a year. So it was in the spring of 2013, and Carl Deichler did a national wake-up call. And I remember hearing his call, and there was that feeling again. And I had heard Miguel. Miguel had been a coach for about 6 months, I think, at this point. But there was that feeling again. And I'm like, man, he does the same thing she does. Like, what is it? I can't speak like that. How do they do that? And here I was thinking the whole time it was me. And I had this aha moment. And this is the aha moment that is going to change your life if you feel this way too. The aha moment for me is I remember thinking, I don't speak the way that they do. When they speak, they deliver belief, and they tell stories, and they elicit so much emotion that it's like you freaking like drank 5 cups of coffee. Like, and I can't do that. But one thing I noticed is there was very little content of what to do. There was very little action steps. I remember getting off the call with Carl Deichler, and I remember thinking, well, so what? That was all great, but what do I go do? Tell me what to do. I'm a very bottom line kind of person. Just tell me what to go do. And I remember thinking, that's the difference. That's the difference. And so I came up with this metaphor, this concept that has forever changed my business. And the concept is that there are people that innately give information and speak as preachers. Metaphorically, they speak as preachers. And there are people that innately speak as teachers. So what I mean by that is my intention when I sit down to draw out my team call, I'm going to teach them something. They're going to take these 5 action steps away. These steps are going to be measurable. I can follow up with them in 5 days and see where they are on the scale and have moved down the line. Because I think and deliver information like a teacher. Because information empowers me. Whereas teachers deliver information like, okay, so I'll give you some examples of preachers. Miguel clearly is a preacher. Lindsay, Carl Deichler, Scotty Hobbs. Although Scotty's not fireworks and like kapow, he's still a preacher. These are the characteristics of people that speak the preacher language, okay? They speak in passion. They light a fire. They connect people with their presentations, so you feel a community. Preachers provide belief that you can achieve anything. They create powerful feelings within people very, very quickly. And they elicit emotions within you to encourage you to take action, regardless of whether you know how or not. And another thing they do is they provide visualization. They speak in visualization. They speak in stories. They speak in the why. Because if you know why you want to do something, you don't necessarily need to know how. You'll figure out a way. Now let me give you an example of a teacher. People that speak in the teacher language, like myself, Melanie Mitro is another teacher. We think we want to provide a skill set. We want to give you techniques on how to do something. We want to give you something organized and strategic to solve a problem. We want to explain systems, and those systems we want to see duplicated. We want to give you measurable ways that you can see your progress. We want to promote some type of analysis and reasoning. That is how a teacher thinks. So let me see a show of hearts. And now, mind you, everybody is on a spectrum. I don't know if I did this right. I know Facebook flips everything. But there's the preacher and the teacher, and you're always on a spectrum. Very rarely, I came up with this like 4 years ago, very rarely have I met somebody that is completely balanced in both. You're either more of a preacher or you're more of a teacher in your communication, in your leadership language. So let me see if you already know, let me see a show of hearts or likes that you're a teacher, like myself. Actually, we'll do likes if you're a teacher, you do hearts if you know you're a preacher. Okay, so here is the problem, okay? So I had this realization. I'm like, okay, all right, I got some hope now. I may not necessarily speak like these preachers that completely motivate me. I may not speak like them, but there's hope for me, because if I realize and now have figured out that the problem with me isn't really a problem, it's just the way I deliver information. Now I can fix this and I can rewire it. And so I've studied this literally for 4 years. I remember the very first person, other than my husband, is right there. Other than my husband, I told this to was Lindsay. We went out to dinner, and I remember we went to Seasons 52 in South Tampa, and I remember I told this to her. And it felt like, it was like, this is a game changer. And so for the last 4 years, I've really studied, and I'm not going to get into all the details. I'm just going to focus on what it's going to mean for your Beachbody business. But here's the problem with both. So the problem with the preacher is it's short term. It's very short-term motivation. It's like a sprint. If you imagine taking a cup of soda and shaking it, a bottle of soda and shaking it, right? And opening it, like explodes. That's how it feels after you watch a webinar or get on a team call or do anything when you're hearing a preacher. It explodes, but what happens within a few hours? It goes flat and it goes stale. And so that's the downside to, if you are a preacher, those of you that are preachers, when you do a team call, when you jump into a challenge group, when you go live into your free groups, they're going to be so fired up. The problem with the preacher, though, is it's very short term. Think of when you go to church, right? Think of everybody who goes to church. On Sunday, they leave. They're like driving out of church. They're like, oh, go ahead. You can cut in front of me. God love you. I love everyone. Give away, right? But how's that look by Wednesday? You're like flipping people off because they cut in front of you in the school line, and that person's a jerk. And it's very short term because the inspiration only lasts so long. But here's the beauty behind the preacher. If you're inspired by something, you will find a way. You will always find a way. It may take you longer because you don't know how and you have to go figure it out. But if you have the inspiration, you'll figure anything out. You will find a way. Now, a teacher, the benefit is it's very duplicatable. There's long-term results because people know how to do things, right? But here's the problem. All the information, and I've learned this through being a teacher until I realized this, all the information in the world is not going to inspire someone to change. All the information in the world is not going to inspire your coaches to change. So what do? You have to find that balance. You have to tap into that balance. I'm going to get into that a little bit later in this call on how to, if you realize you're one or the other, how do I make the most of getting that short-term burst and that short-term motivation from my coaches, but then giving them the long-term results? How do I encompass both? And I tell you, when I figured this out, this was in the spring of 2013. All of 2013, I studied this, I watched this. I'm going to tell you ways that I did this all through 2013. Come into the year 2014, a 5-star diamond, left 2014 as a 15-star diamond coach. This works. Trust me. Okay, think of parenting. I want to put a different lens on it for just a second. Think of parenting. So my daughter, Raina, she's got these girls at school that are girls. They're mean to her, they're nasty to her, right? She comes home, she's upset, and she tells me, Mom, this is what happened at school. And I immediately go into preacher mode or teacher mode. I'm like, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to write down what it is they said. We need to call the school. We need to have it documented. You need to go to them and look them in the eye and tell them you're not right. Telling her all these action points on what she needs to do. But remember, all the information in the world is not going to inspire someone to do anything about it. If she doesn't believe that she can stand up for herself, it doesn't matter if she have all the tools. Doesn't matter. My husband comes home, tells the same story to him. He's a preacher. He starts speaking in a story, because they speak in stories. When I was a kid, This happened with me. And let me tell you, when you and starts going into empowering her and motivating her, and you can see the energy changing in her, like, yeah, I can do this. When they come back up to me again, I can do this. But you know what? She didn't know what to do. But because my husband and I are a teacher, preacher, 1-2 punch, the next time those girls came up to her, she not only believed in herself, but she delivered exactly what she needed to deliver. And it was successful. So you can apply it in so many different facets of life. And when you think about your coaches and your groups, I have coaches message me all the time and they're like, man, my groups are flat. Like my free groups are flat, my training is flat. I feel like things are flat. If that is you, look in your team page, look at your content and really examine it, because when I did that, I noticed I was informationing my challengers to death. I was telling them all this great stuff, all this clean eating stuff, all this how-to stuff, but none of them were inspired or believed in themselves to make a change. So I had very little transformations. Or you're inspiring them so much and they are totally on fire, but they really don't know what they're doing. They still don't understand what they're supposed to eat. Same thing with your groups, same thing with your coaches. When you do a GSR, is it all preacher or is it all teacher? Do they know what to do after the call? Are they going to stay motivated after the call? So I'm going to share 4 ways that once I realized this, I improved my language and improved my business and went from 5 to 15 star in 1 year because I started applying these techniques. So my first tip, pair up with somebody who is the opposite language as you. Because you can do team calls together, and I call it the teacher-preacher sandwich. You start with a preacher, have a teacher in the middle, give the content, and then end with a preacher. And then maybe a couple days later, have that preacher jump in your team page and go live and give them another shot. Because remember, by Wednesday, it's flat. They need it every 3 or 4 days, or they're not going to keep believing. Pair up with somebody who's the opposite, because if you've got 2 teachers together or 2 preachers together, your people aren't going to get the best of both worlds. Okay, my second tip, think of the income surge. This kind of has to do with my first one. Think of the income surge. We specifically designed that surge as a teacher-preacher sandwich. We told stories, we had people that shared motivation, stories of inspiration, and then you had, this is how you place, this is how you sign your spouse up, this is it. But if we did all of one or all of the other, you would have been thinking, well, all this is great, but just tell me what to do. Like, I want to know how to make money, right? Or you would have been like, oh, this group's really boring. I don't know if I want to be a coach because I just feel like I'm getting drilled in the head with information, right? Okay, teacher-preacher sandwich. Number 3. This is what I did. I studied videos of the opposite of me. I went on YouTube and I started Googling people who I felt were inspirational. Started rewatching Lindsay's calls. And I studied how preachers spoke and how they talked and how they delivered information. And I emulated them, right? You kind of imitate people. I think Miguel was talking about mirroring yesterday. Started mirroring them. Okay. All right, I get it. They inflect their voices. They lean into the camera. They do these little things. I can do that. I can do that. And you can do it too. Watch the opposite. Now, if you are a preacher, think, okay, I need to put things in lists. What do I want them to accomplish? What do I want them to work on? Is that measurable? Balancing it out. The 4th one. Think if you're a teacher, you want to talk in more stories. You want to create more belief, and you want to create more visualization. If you're a preacher, you want to speak more in action steps. What will they learn and what can they apply? So, I'm going to share with you something that we laughed a lot at today. This is my teacher-preacher transformation, and this should really inspire the heck out of you, and I hope you can see it. My very first challenge group, I was a coach for a year. This is in July of 2012. We had to do videos for our challenge group. This was a 6-minute video. I'm not showing you the whole video. I'm showing you a very small clip. This was a 6-minute video to inspire and welcome my challengers. And you'll see in this video, I'm very much a teacher, and then right after here's your homework assignment. If that doesn't scream teacher, I don't know what does. Then I spliced in my video from 2 weeks ago on how to rock your retail business. Same person 4 years later, but I have really applied myself at becoming a preacher in my presentations. And you'll see the difference. I start off and I speak in visualization. Visualize a quilt. Visualize you, and I'm empowering you. You'll see the difference. And all I did was apply those 4 steps I just gave you. So I am going to hopefully be able to show this to you, and hopefully you can hear it. Let's see.
We all play a part in this team, coaches and challengers alike. You are each important, worthy, and ready for this. I can feel the energy and enthusiasm.
Impressive, huh? I can feel the energy and enthusiasm. Here's your first assignment. It was pretty bad. It was 6 minutes of that. I'm surprised my challengers didn't go jump off a bridge. Okay? That was me. Then last week.
Think of a quilt, right? You want to make a quilt. Say your business is a quilt. Your product knowledge is a quilt. Part of it is knowing what your products are. I didn't start off with a whole quilt. I started off with one patch. And I'd sew that patch. And I'd understand it. And figure out, how does this patch add value to somebody's life? Then I'd start another patch. And then Google another. I've got a huge quilt now. And I want to empower you to not feel like, I don't have a quilt like Shay. Go build your own freaking quilt. And make it to where it works for you and sounds like you and comes across from you from the heart.
I can feel the energy and enthusiasm.
That was so bad. My point is if you're feeling like your groups are flat or your team's not motivated, don't get discouraged and think that it's you, because that was me, and that was how my team call went. And I couldn't understand, because I was giving them such really good content, why they weren't inspired, why they weren't motivated. I've worked really freaking hard at presenting the way I do now. And you can too. And I think just understanding the difference on how to motivate people, both short term, by pouring in belief, pouring in visions that they can do it, and inspiring them, but then also balancing it with, this is how you're going to do it, step by step by step, and then pouring in more belief. That's what's going to get people to go the distance. If you think about a football team, they can all believe they know how to do it, but if they can't freaking put a play together, you need an assistant coach who's going to be able to teach them the plays and how to navigate down the field. But if they don't have the heart and don't believe they can do it, they're going to be out there going through the plays and going through the motions and not feeling any passion. You need to have both. And if you're new to leadership, I was experienced with leadership, and I felt like I'm never going to be a great leader. I'm failing in this business. I will never do well because I didn't do a team call for a year because I didn't believe that I had anything of value to offer, because I compared myself to preachers. But there's absolute 100% empowerment that you can do both, and you need to get the most out of your people. So, what is in this for you? Know where you are on the spectrum. Where are you on this spectrum? Really look at your groups, how you speak with people, the content that's in your groups, and whatever you are, how can you infuse more of the other in there? Because you know what? Knowledge is power. And if you know what's in there and what your people are getting, you'll know how to balance it out more. And use that to improve your challenge groups, improve your content, improve your free groups. If you're not getting people converting from your free groups over to your challenge groups, it's probably because there's not enough preacher in your groups. Or enough teacher. Maybe you just felt like, yeah, that was a really fun group. So what? Same thing with your team page content. Is it just, the Charlie Brown talking in there with information? Is it a bunch of fluff? Or is it a really good balance of both? Because you know what? Your teachers are going to be bored if it's preacher all day long. And your preachers are going to be like, you know, if it's a teacher, they're going to be like, well, this is boring. You've got to speak to both. And both absolutely need it to move the ball down the field in this business. So remember, it's not you. It's just how you are innately wired to influence people. So in close, I'm going to share this. If any of you saw last week, I made my first announcement, because remember I said I've been doing this for 4 years and studying it. I'm publishing a book on this. And I'm really, like my 5 year ago, Shay, I'm really excited to publish this book. No, I'm really freaking excited to publish this book because I have seen, when you look at Lindsay Matway, God bless the girl, you know what? Because when I told her that day at Seasons 52 about this, she is the only coach that I know that has 100% applied it to her business. 100% she has made groups with the teacher-preacher balance. And she is the only coach in this network that has as many Millionaire Club coaches, the only coach that has as many 15-star diamonds, more top 10 coaches than anybody, more Millionaire Club, more 15-star diamonds, and is the top earner in this company. Because she's smart. She took these tools and she applied them to her business. And she is the only coach that I know that has done that 100%. And she is an amazing preacher. She attracts preachers that instill more belief in people and empower people to do more. And it's no wonder she is the top earning coach and most successful coach with duplication in this business. And I am so excited, truly excited, to publish this book, because in this book, I go into much more depth about how to apply this in your business, in the military, if you're a sports coach, if you're a parent. There's so many different ways to use this and apply it to help and motivate people through challenges and what they need so that you get the performance out of them that they and you desire. Thank you guys very much. Shay Stanford here, as always, refining your life one little message at a time. Take care, guys.